Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. We resume today's presentation from where we left off, looking at the influence of the first ray on humanity. I am not sure when Sanat Kumara directed this ray towards us, he realized quite what effect it would have. The hierarchy was certainly taken off guard. We can talk about a divine plan and assume everybody from a second self upwards is somehow clued into what is going to happen in the future. This simply is not the case. The plan is nothing more than a framework around which each monad is drawn through the law of development to move their game forward. This may be in a totally unconscious manner, as is the case for a primary atom. For a secondary atom, it is passively conscious. They thrill to the conscious inputs from tertiary and quaternary matter. When you get to self-conscious human monads, things can fall apart very rapidly. This is mainly because the bulk of humanity is repulsive, literally as well as metaphorically. As the first ray poured into Earth at the start of the 20th century, the hierarchy had to scramble to mitigate the worst of the effects it was having. First ray energy is direct, and it burns through blockages on each plane as it passes through. This direct energy, in the hands of selfish individuals, led to some horrific outcomes, yet it was still utilized by the lords of karma to rebalance many outstanding debts. After the XIII is taken, the soul can connect more directly to the world both above and below. It stands in an ocean of love and can become a servant of the divine will. Will without love is dangerous. Love and intelligence must be the servants of will. This allows a monad to serve in the three worlds of life on the first triad. Finally, the monad is ready to move to the 46th world and become a second self. To achieve this, the Antahkarana must be fully constructed, moving the monad's focus out of the first triad completely. Today, through the efforts of humanity and the hierarchy, an alignment is taking place, so we are told, where the monad, the soul, and the persona are integrating as never before. Before you go polishing your halos, a major reason for this event is that many more initiates have incarnated, and there are more disciples preparing for their third degree. More humans are beginning to establish the three links we have spoken about. At the same time, Shambhala, the hierarchy, and humanity are aligning, producing a fusion of energies, the main one being the inflow of will. This has unfortunately expressed itself very clearly in its destroyer aspect. Okay, so we know what the Antahkarana is, where it resides when built, why we need it, and what it helps us achieve. Let us now look more closely at the techniques used in its construction. It is always worth a recap on what we have gleaned so far. The axis of knowledge and force express themselves through the consciousness and creative threads. These two threads are a fusion of past knowledge expressed as the consciousness thread and present knowledge expressed as the creative thread. The life thread, also known as a Sutratma, is closely blended with these other two threads. Once combined, they are known in some circles as Atma Buddhimanas. These are centers in a monad's triad present at the second level. It is Manas that is the agent of creation and begins to function in the aspirant. As a human monad evolves, there is a gradual fusion of the persona and the soul. But this can only proceed so far before there is a need for a third active ingredient. That new ingredient is the creative activity of the will. This allows for a bridge to be built between the third triad known as spirit and the persona. The soul is the intermediary between these two triads. The bridge that is constructed is known as the Antahkarana. This bridge cannot be built without the active support from monads who have reached the level of second selves, 45 and 46. Although we get help, the aspirant is still the one responsible for building the bridge. To do this, it must first be focused in its 47-4 permanent molecule and be active in all three grades of matter in this envelope. What is being attempted is to bridge the mental molecule 47-4 via the persona or lower causal body with the mental atom 47-1. All three envelopes are involved. In the process, the trinity of the second triad becomes the duality of the first and second triads. When this task is completed and the Antahkarana is a reality, there is a perfect alignment between the monad focused in the 47-1 permanent atom and its expression on the physical plane. At this point, the causal envelope is destroyed in the fires of the monad as it pours down through the Antahkarana. What you now have is a conscious soul incarnate expressing the will of the monad. It is at this time that the etheric web, which had protected the monad from unwanted influences from the emotional plane, is dissolved and remade under the command of the monad. It no longer serves as a barrier, but allows the monad to have continuity of consciousness on all three of the planes of matter where it dwells, planes 47 to 49. The divine intermediary, the soul, is no longer required. The Son of God, who is the Son of Mind, dies. The veil of the temple is rent in twain from top to bottom. The fourth initiation, I-4, is passed, and then comes the revelation of the Father. For those of you who are not familiar with the Bible, the gibberish I have just spoken takes on an exoteric meaning when you understand what is really going on. Once a disciple establishes a direct connection between the two halves of its mental envelope, the causal envelope, which has been gifted by our guardian angels, is no longer needed. The monad's own mental envelope is now able to function consciously on both triads. The Son of God, our now thoroughly worn-out solar diva, is released from its thankless task and can take a well-earned holiday. So, we now have a line of light that leads from the Father to the Mother, from spirit to matter. Spirit has now mounted on matter. Another Gnostic turn of phrase. In the process, the monad has gained knowledge and experience of matter. This is something it could not do without the help of secondary and tertiary matter, the only matter able to operate physically on the cosmic physical plane. Quaternary matter needs to experience this materiality to become self-conscious. The process starts in the mineral kingdom and completes in the fourth kingdom of nature. Beyond this lies only the expansion of consciousness and the mastery of ever higher planes of matter. The Son has done his work. The task of the Savior or the mediator has been completed. What the monad has come to know is that there is only one conscious unity. This unity is shared with all monads. The human spirit can now say with intention and understanding, I and my Father are one. This Gnostic saying, needless to say, is totally misunderstood and misrepresented by the Church and deprived Christians of their divinity. We have now linked the physical etheric envelopes with the emotional and mental envelopes. This trinity has fused with the causal envelope after consciously building the Antahkarana. It is now known as the quaternary. This readies the monad for the fourth initiation, I-4, when it is deemed appropriate. You now have a summary of the fours. The quaternary of body, emotions, mind, and soul on earth. The fourth initiation, I-4, known as the crucifixion. The fourth technical stage of building the Antahkarana, which is A. Suratma, the life thread, B. the consciousness thread, C. the creative thread, which itself is threefold, and D. the technical Antahkarana, bridging between the threefold persona and the spiritual triad. You then come to four stages of the path of return. A. the stage of evolution itself. B. the stage of the probationary path. C. the stage of discipleship. And D. the stage of the path of initiation. All the stages listed so far are undertaken by the monad as it slowly moves through the fourth kingdom of nature. Finally, the threshold is reached when the monad stands before the abyss and has to decide whether it wants to risk jumping across it. The I-4 is the most difficult and terrifying of all initiations according to Lawrency. There has been a lot to take in over the last few presentations. What is being pointed out is that the fourth kingdom of nature goes through its journey, and it is conditioned by four aspects of one Sutratma. All the Gnostic symbology quoted is relating to this one process, the science of building the Antahkarana. Is that all? No way. In the next presentation, we will start by looking at the construction of the Antahkarana in ancient Lemuria and Atlantis. Thank you.